Hello everyone, welcome back to Python Complete course. In previous lecture, we learned about functions and recursion. And in this lecture, we are going to talk about file handling. Okay, so almost every software you use every day stores data inside files or databases. In this lecture, we'll understand how Python works with files and why file handling is so important. Okay, so what is file handling? So let's understand with a simple question. Suppose you create a Python program like name is equal to Ayush, then marks is equal to 97, then print name, print marks. So output will be what? Ayush and 97. So everything works perfect. But now close the program and run it again. Does Python remember the previous values? No. Why? Because variable stores data only while the program is running. When the program stops, the data stored in variables is lost. This is called temporary storage. Okay. So why variables are not enough? Let's imagine you are creating a student management system. Every time a student registers, you store name, roll number, marks, phone number. So if you only use variables, then after closing the program, all student records disappear. That means the next time you open the application, everything starts from zero. This is not how real software works. Real software remembers data even after being closed. Okay, so to solve this problem, we use file handling. Okay, so the definition of file handling is it is the process of storing, reading, updating, and deleting data from the files using a programming language. Or yes, okay, then with file handling, data remains available and even after the program has stopped. So this is called permanent storage. Okay, so the temporary storage versus permanent storage. Let's compare them. So the temporary storage examples are variables and RAM, and its features are that it is very fast, data is lost after power off, and it is used while the programming is running. And in permanent storage, its examples are hard disk, SSD, pen drive. Okay, and their features are data remains saved, available after restart, used for long-term storage. Okay, and one of the real life example is think about WhatsApp. When someone sends you a message today, you can still read it tomorrow. How? Because WhatsApp stores your messages permanently. Similarly, banking app stores account details, Instagram stores your photos, YouTube stores videos, college management system stores student records. Okay, all of these rely on permanent storage. Okay, so next is types of files in Python. So it mainly works with two type of file, that is text file and binary file. So first we will talk about text files. So these files stores data in a human readable format. Examples .txt, .py, .csv like notes.txt, students.csv, program.py. Okay, you can open these files in a notepad or VS Code and read the contents directly. And next is binary files. These files store data in binary format like zeros and ones. Okay, examples are .jpg, .png, .mp3, .mp4, .exe. You cannot understand these files by opening them in a text editor because they contain encoded binary data. So text data versus binary file definition, difference. Okay. So in text file it is human readable and in binary file it is machine readable. So in text file it stores characters and in binary file it stores byte. And in text file it's smaller for text and in binary file it's better for media files. In text file examples are .txt and here you're looking at .txt, py, csv and in binary files jpg, png, mp3, mp4. Okay. So next is common file operations, that is read, write, append, update and delete. Okay, so whenever we work with files, we generally perform five operations, that is read, write, append, update, delete. So reading means viewing the data stored in a file. Example, reading student names from a class record. And writing means storing new data into a file. Example, saving a new student's details. Appending means adding new data without removing existing data. Example, adding one more employee to an employee list. Update. So updating means changing existing information. Example, changing a student's marks from 75 to 90. Delete. So delete means removing a file completely from storage. Example, delete an old report that is no longer needed. And the real world applications of file handling. Next is okay. So file handling is used in almost every software application, that is banking system, in like customer details, account balance, transaction history, and in hospital management, it has patient records, doctor details, medical reports. In school management, it has student information, attendance, marks, fee records, and in e-commerce websites like orders, products, customer details, and payments history. Okay. So notes applications, that is whenever you search save a note, it is written into a file. Okay. So whenever you open the app again, the same note is read from the file. Okay. So till now we learned about the opening files, file mode, reading files, writing files, appending data, working with the multiple lines, file pointers. Okay. So, at pointers, appending, reading, writing, we will talk about later. Okay. Chapter, we will learn opening files, files mode, reading files, writing files, appending data, working with multiple lines, file pointers, advanced file methods, okay, deleting files and one mini project. Okay, and by the end of this chapter you will be able to build simple file based applications on your own. Okay, so next is some viva questions are there, that is what is file handling. So file handling is the process of creating, reading, writing, updating, and deleting files using Python. Okay, so why do we use file handling? So answer is to store data permanently so that it remains available even after the program is closed. So name the two main type of files. Answer is text files and is binary files. So which storage is temporary? Answer is RAM, that is variable. Which storage is permanent? Answer is hard disk, SSD, and storage devices. Okay. So next we are going to talk about opening files. Okay. So imagine your notebook is inside your school bag. Can you start writing immediately? So answer is no. First you take the notebook out and open it. Only then can you read or write. So Python follows exactly the same process. before doing anything with the file, it must be opened. Okay. So first we are going to talk about open function. Okay. So Python provides a built-in function called open. Its purpose is to open a file and create a connection between your program and that file. Okay. So its syntax is file is equal to open students.txt and r. Let's understood and understand each part. Okay. Part one is file. That is, this is a variable. It stores the file object returned by Python. You can choose any valid variable name. For example, my file or student underscore file. Okay. So next is open. So this built-in function opens the file without calling open. Python cannot access any file. So next is students.txt. This is the file name. Python will search for this file. If it is found, it will be opened according to the selected mode. So next is R. So this is called the file mode. The mode tells Python what operation you want to perform. Okay. So next is file object. So when Python opens the file, it returns a special object called a file object. Think of it as a bridge between your Python program and the file stored on your computer. Okay. So example is file is equal to open data.txt and here is R and print file. Okay. If I print, one second, if I show you here and one second. So it will show this output. So you don't need to memorize this output. Just remember Python creates a file object and we will use that object to work with the file. So next is, one second. So next is relative path. Okay. So suppose your Python file and your text file are in the same folder. Like Python in Python project, the file is main.py and student.txt. Then you simply write file is equal to open students.txt is equal to r. Okay. So this is called a relative path. Python searches for the file in the current project folder. Okay. So next we are going to talk about of absolute path. So now suppose the file is somewhere else. Example, see this is example, and then you need to provide the complete location. So file is equal to open this something this and r. Okay, so this is called an absolute path. It tells Python the exact location of the file. So which path should you use? During learning and small projects, always use relative path. They are shorter, cleaner, and make your project easier to move to the another computer. Absolute path are mostly used when the file is outside the project folder. So next we are on to the file mode. Now let's understand the different file modes. Once again, yes, the different file modes. First one is read. So purpose is of the read is open an existing file for reading You can view the contents. You cannot modify the file and the important point is, if the file doesn't exist, Python raises error, file not found error. Okay. And in write mode, its purpose is open a file for writing. If the file already exists, its old content will be removed. And if the file doesn't exist, Python creates a new file automatically. And append mode, its purpose is to add new data at the end of an existing file. Old content remains unchanged. If the file doesn't exist, Python creates it automatically. Okay. So next is X. The purpose of the X is to create a new brand line file. If the file already exists, Python will raise file exist error. This mode prevents accidental overwriting. And next we have read and write mode. So the purpose of read and write mode is allow both reading and writing. The file must already exist. And second is write and read mode. The purpose of write and read mode is allow writing and reading. If the file exists, its content is erased. If it doesn't exist, Python create it. Okay. And next is append and read mode. So the purpose of append and read mode is it allows appending new data and reading the file. So existing content remain safe. Okay. So next we have some common mistakes that beginner can make. That mistake number one, wrong file name. If open student, if you write this, okay, so and the actual file is students.txt and you write student.txt, so it will cause file not found error. Okay. So mistake number two, if you write w instead of a, okay, so these remove all previous data. And mistake number three, using an incorrect absolute path. Always double check the folder location. And next is some Viva questions that you should know. That is, which function is used to open a file? So answer is open. So what is a file object? A file object is the object returned by open that allow Python to interact with the file. So what is the difference between relative path and absolute path? So relative path, it uses the current project folder, and in absolute path, it uses the complete location of the file. And which mode create a new file but fails if it already exists? So answer is X. And which mode is safest for adding new data without deleting existing content? So answer is A. Okay. So next we are going to talk about four important topic. Okay, that is reading data from files. That is read size, read line, read lines. Okay. So let's understand each one step by step. So sorry. So create a file named demo.txt and write the following content inside it. Demo.txt. If we and if we write hello Ayush, file handling is easy, practice every day. Okay. So and we if we save the file and Then now we will use this file in all examples. Okay. Next, the simplest method is read. It read the file. Okay. It reads the entire file from beginning to end. Example, file is equal to open, and here it will like demo.txt, and here it will show R, and then data is equal to file dot read, and okay, so print data. So output will be what? Hello Ayush, file handling is easy practice every day. So that output is printed. Okay. So how read works? Imagine reading a novel. You start from page 1. You continue until the last page. After finishing, there is nothing left to read. That is exactly how read behaves. It read everything in one operation. Okay. And next we are going to see once again. So next we are going to see storing file data. Storing file data. So instead of printing immediately, we can store file data inside a variable like file is equal to open demo.txt. R will remain same. Then once again, content is equal to file dot read, then print content. So we'll see the output here. So it shows the whole content inside the demo.txt, and it contains the complete file. You can process it just like any normal Python string. So next we are on read size. Sometimes we don't want the whole file. Maybe we only need the first few characters. For that, Python provides read size. So file is equal to open demo.txt r, and we can copy it. Seven. So here we'll print hello here. Once again, if I run this, so here it will print hello here. Means only 7 characters are read. Okay. So another example. 7 characters means hello Ayush. Wala 7 characters. Sorry. And another example is file is equal to open demo.txt r file.read 15. Then here it will show hello Ayush FIL. So it read 15 characters. Okay. So if you notice, Python count characters, not words. Spaces are also counted. Okay. So I'll give a real life example that imagine a book preview. Instead of reading the whole book, you only read the first few lines. Read size works in the same way. So next is read line. So now suppose you want to read one complete line at a time. For this, Python provides read line. Example, file is going to open demo.txt or file.read line, and we have to hello Ayush. Okay, so only the first line is displayed. And next we are going to do is, one second, repeated multiple lines. One, like file is equal to open demo.txt or print file dot read line, then output will be hello Ayush, file handling is easy. So every call move automatically to another next line. Okay. So the real life example is, imagine checking attendance. Instead of reading the entire register, you read one student's name at a time. That's exactly how read line works. So next method is read lines. Okay. So unlike the previous methods, it returns a list. Every line becomes one element of that list. Example, file is equal to open demo.txt or, and data is equal to, one second, data is equal to file dot read lines print data. So it will show hello Ayush, file handling is easy, but it's every day. So demo.txt it is equal to file dot read lines print data. So if you notice the scale brackets, that means Python returned a list. Okay. So if you want to accessing individual lines, since the result is a list, we can use indexing. Okay. Like file is equal to open demo.txt or with lines, once again, lines is equal to file dot read lines, and then lines 0 2. Okay. So hello, I use practice every day. So output is this, and then we compare all reading methods. That is read, read size, read line, and read lines. The purpose of read is read complete file size, and read size is read which number of characters. Read lines is read one line. Read lines is read all lines as a list. And what is the return type? Return type of read is string, and read size is string, read line is string, and read lines is the list. Okay. So which method should you use? We will use read when we need the entire file, and we use read line when processing one line at a time, and we will use read lines when we want every line stored inside a Python list. Okay. So next we have some practice questions. One second. So first is display the complete file. File is equal to open demo.txt R print file dot read. So if we full output here, then we have the question that is display only the first 20 characters. File is equal to open demo.txt r print file dot read 20. Okay, so if we show output, then it will this. Okay, so next is display only the first line. So the answer is file is equal to open demo.txt r then print file dot read line, and I will remove this. Then hello Ayush. Okay, so next is display the second line using indexing. So lines is equal to file dot read lines print lines 1, and if we see the output, file handling is easy. So next we will talk about some mistake that a common mistake that beginner can do, that thinking read and thinking reads 10 words. Wrong. It read 10 characters. Okay. And mistake number 2, that is confusing between read line and read line. Remember that read line show only one line and read lines list of all lines. Okay. Then mistake number 3, trying to access lines 5. When the file contains only these 3 lines, this causes index error. Okay. And some Viva questions are there that which method creates the complete file. So answer is read. Which method reads only a fixed number of characters? Okay, fixed number of characters, that is read size. Which method returns the list? So answer is read lines. What is the return type of read? So answer is string. What is the return type of read lines? So answer is list. So next we are going to talk about writing into files. So this is one of the most common operations in the real world software. Whenever you save a document, register a student, or create an account, the application writes data into storage. Let's see how Python does it. So write method for writing data into a file. So syntax is file, one second, file dot write data. So this data must be strong. The data must be strong. Okay. So example number 1, that is file is equal to open demo.txt w and file dot write hello students file dot close. So if we see the so demo.txt, hello students. Okay, so suppose your file contains, that is Python, Java and C. Okay, so if we execute file is equal to open demo.txt w file dot write file handling, and if once again file dot handling, and if we see the output, then it will show the file handling. Okay, so everything else disappeared. Why? Because the write mode removed the previous content before writing new data. Okay, so next we are going to talk about an important role, that is mode W, and it creates the file if it doesn't exist. Okay, and, it delete whole data if it already exists. So this is one of the most common mistakes beginner make. Okay, so next is writing user input. instead of fixed Instead of fixed text, you can also save user input like file is equal to open student.txtw and one second name is equal to input and enter student name then file dot write, and here I will write name, then file dot close. Okay, so next I will run. So if I use, then it will show here I use. Okay, and okay, so next if the writing numbers. Okay, so many beginner will try this for writing number, but it will wrong, so it will give an error. I show you. So it will give an error. So because write accepts only strings, so it will be correct. But how it will be correct? That is, one second. If I run this, then if I do this, then and here it will show 100. Okay, so then I will talk about writing multiple values. Okay, so name is equal to Ayush, age is equal to 20, and city is equal to Delhi. File is equal to open student dot txt
then here w, then file dot w write name plus and file dot write cd, then file dot close. Okay, so if I run this and if I see the output, then it will show Ayush and Delhi. 1 second. File dot write name plus and file dot write city. Okay, I forget for age. File file dot write str age and plus n, and if I run this, it will show Ayush 20 and Delhi. Okay, so next we are going to write lines. Okay, so now suppose you already have multiple strings stored inside a list. Instead of calling write again and again, Python provides write lines. Okay, so example file is equal to open language dot txt w, then languages Python. So here will be slash then and then here Java and slash and comma should also be here or should be here, then C plus plus, then slash, then and then there will be Java script, and then slash and then will be file dot write lines, then language language and file dot close. So if I run this, then language.txt is here and output will be also here. Okay, so and one important note, you should know that write lines does not automatically insert new lines. It's like language is equal to Python, Java, C, and output. If you write language is equal to, and if you don't does not do not include slash and then output will be Python, Java, C++ in the lines. Okay, and if you write this thing and then it will show this line, vertical line, and if you okay understand. So next will be close. Okay, so close, whenever we open a file we should close it after our work is complete. So syntax is file dot close. Okay, so closing is the file release system resource. Think of it like closing a notebook after finishing your work. So next is with statement. So instead of manually writing file.close Python provide a better solution that with open demo.txt w as file dot write welcome to Python. Okay, so once the block finishes, Python automatically closes the file. So no need to call close. So once again, so here it will show welcome to Python. So next is why professionals prefer with advantages like advantage like cleaner code, less chance of mistakes, automatic file closing, recommended by Python documentation. Okay, so most real-world Python projects use the with statements. Okay, so next is practice programs. So first is store your name inside a file. One second. Store your name inside a file. File is equal to open name.txt w file dot write use file dot close. So if I run the program, so name.txt is here and it will write use. Okay, so next is store three cities using write lines. Okay, so cities Delhi slash and Okay, then Mumbai, Mumbai, slash Jaipur, slash file is good. One cities dot txt and w, then file dot write line. Okay, so next is cities. So then file dot close. So if I run this program, so I will cities.txt Delhi, Mumbai and Jaipur. Okay. So next is third practice program, that is store username and age. Okay. So file is equal to open user dot txt w name is equal to input name age equal to input age file dot write name plus file dot write age file dot close. Okay, so name is Ayush, age is 20. Okay, so user.txt is where, yes, here, then it will show Ayush and 20. Okay, so next is some common mistakes that beginner can make, that is mistake number one, trying to write an integer directly, like file dot write 100. So correct will be str 100. Okay, and mistake number two, for forgetting slash n while using write lines. Okay, and third mistake is forgetting to close the file when not using the with statement. Okay, and next we are going to do some Bible questions. Okay, so some Bible questions like, which method writes data into a file? So answer is right. And which method write multiple strings from a list? So answer is the right line. Why do we use str with numbers? Okay, because write accepts only strings. Okay, so what is the advantage of the with statement? it automatically closes the file after use. Okay, so does write lines add slash n automatically? So answer is no. You must include slash n yourself if you want each item on a new line. Okay, so next we are going to do advanced file handling. Okay, and it's used in real life world applications, and this method helps us control where Python reads or writes data inside a file. So let's begin. So first is understanding the file cursor. Okay, so once again, so yes, understanding the file cursor. So whenever Python opens a file, it places an invisible marker inside the file. This marker is called the file cursor or file pointer. Okay, so the cursor tells Python from which position it should read or write data. Think of it like a bookmark inside a book. If your bookmark is on page 50, you start reading from page 50, not from page 1. Python behaves the same way. Okay, so next is example. Suppose demo.txt contains, one second, demo.txt contains Python programming. One second, Python programming. Okay, so let's see how the cursor moves. Okay, so tell, it provides the tell method, and it returns the current position of the file cursor, like file is equal to open demo.txt and then print file dot tell. Okay, so next, file dot close. So next is if I run this. Okay, so if I run this, it will show 0. So the cursor start at position 0. After reading, file is equal to open demo.txt file, print file.tell. Okay, so here I will write print file dot read 6, and if I run this program, so it will read as it will show 6. Okay, so explanation is that how it works, that it reads 6 characters. Python reads 6 characters. Okay, so now the cursor automatically moved to position 6. And why tell is useful? So why tell is useful? Suppose you are reading a huge log file. Instead of remembering where you stopped, Python can tell you the exact cursor position. Okay, so very useful in large application it is. Okay, then we have seek position. So now suppose you want to move the cursor manually. Python provides seek. Syntax is file dot seek. One second. File dot seek and position. Okay, it is the syntax. Next, we have example. File is equal to open demo.txt. R, then file dot C7, then print file dot read, then file dot close. Okay, so if I run this program, so it will show programming. Okay, so instead of reading from the beginning, the cursor jumped directly to position 7. Okay, so next is moving back to beginning. Moving back to beginning, that is file is going to open demo.txt file dot read 5. To do this, 0, and if I run this program, so it will show Python programming. Okay, so if you notice the seek 0, it moves the cursor back to the beginning of the file. Okay, so the real life example of this, that imagine watching a movie, we pause at 20 minutes later instead of watching from the beginning. Okay, you jump directly to the minute 20. That jump is similar to using seek. Next we have flush. So normally Python stores written data in a temporary memory area called a buffer before saving it to a disk. So sometimes we want the data to be saved immediately. For that, Python provides flush. An example is file is going to open demo.txt. Here it will remain a, and file dot write welcome, then file dot flush file dot close. Okay, so if so here flush forces Python to write the buffer data to the file immediately. Okay, so when is flush when is flush useful? So it is commonly used in log files, live applications, banking software, and real-time systems. Okay, where data should be saved immediately without waiting for the file to close. So next is truncate. Okay, so next now let's learn another useful method, that is truncate, and it changes the size of the file. If the specified size is smaller than the current file size, extra data is removed. Okay, so example is file is going to open demo.txt r plus, then file dot write file dot truncate truncate 6 file dot close. And if demo.txt contains Python programming language, once again language, so if you open and run this file, now open this file, then it will remove the everything after the 6 character is used. Okay, so next we are going to do another example based on this. Okay, file is going to, let's suppose here you have welcome to Python programming. Okay, 1 second. Python programming. So, so next is file is equal to open demo.txt r plus file.truncate, and here you will write 11. Okay, so if I run this program and see the output, welcome to its remaining. Okay, so the file becomes shorter, and okay, so next is we are going to do that is comparison between method and purpose. So method uh, tell method is returns current cursor position, seek is moves cursor to a specified position, flush is writes weapon data immediately, truncate resizes the file. Okay, so next we are going to do some practice program. First practice program is display the current cursor position. Okay, file is equal to open demo.txt r print file dot tell. Okay, so file dot close. Then if I run this program, so it will show 0. Okay, so next is to read 5 character and display the cursor position. So file is going to open demo.txt or print file dot read read 5. Okay, so next is print file dot tell, and here it will remain empty. Then file dot close. Okay, so if we going to Velcro 5. Okay, so next is we are going to do is move the cursor to the position 8. File is going to open demo.txt or file dot seek 8 print file dot read copy control. Then here move this. Then file dot close. Then what will the output is 2. Okay, so next is shorten a file. How we will shorten a file. File is going to open demo.txt r will remain same. Then file dot close it will remain same. Then here file dot truncate 10. So I see the output. That will 1 second. File is going to open demo.txt r file dot truncate r. So welcome to it's shortened. So next we are going to do is mistakes that beginner can make, that is using seek with a negative value. Okay, so example file is equal to seek and seek minus 1. Okay, so this raises an error in normal text mode. Okay, so next we are going to do is calling tell after closing the file. So if you close the file like this and print file dot tell, so it will wrong. Okay, so the file is already closed, so it will wrong. Okay, so using truncate without understanding that data cannot be recovered. Okay, so next we are going to do some Viva questions. That is, which method returns the current cursor position? Answer is tell. Which method moves the cursor? Answer is seek. Which method forces buffer data to be written immediately? So answer is flush. Which method changes the size of a file? So answer is truncate. What is the default cursor position when a file is open? Okay, so answer is 0, beginning of the file. So next we are going to do file handling practicals. Okay, so like os dot remove os dot rename os dot path dot exist, copy file, merge file, search word, count words, count lines, count characters, student record project. Okay, so until now we have learned how to open files, read data, write data, and work with different file modes. Now it's time to those concepts to build real world programs. This section is completely practical. Okay, so next we are going to do so. First, we are going to do that check whether a file exists. Before opening or deleting a file, it's a good practical practice to check if it exists. So, import OS file name is equal to demo.txt. If os.path dot exists file name print file exists, then else print file not found. Okay, so output will be error because one second. If I write this, so output will be file exists. I forgot I forgot to write colon, so it will show error. If I wrote the error, then it will show file exists because demo.txt is exist. Okay, so next is rename a file. Okay, so sometimes we need to change the name of the file, like import os, then os dot rename dot txt, python nodes dot txt, print file rename successfully. Okay, so So file renamed successfully Python nodes.txt. Okay. So, so next we are going to do delete a file. So import OS and if os.path dot list python underscore nodes dot txt os dot remove file dot file deleted, then print file delete. So nodes dot txt and else, then print file not found. Okay. So if I run this program, so file is deleted, like we have not python nodes.txt. Okay. So next is copy data from one file to another. Okay. So source is equal to open file dot txt data is equal to source dot read, then source dot close, then destination is equal to open file to dot txt, w, and destination dot write and data, then destination dot close, then print copy completed. So, so if I run this program, so it will show copy completed. Okay. So next is merge to files. Suppose file1.txt file1.txt contains Python and file2.txt contains programming. Okay. So if we write a program, file is equal to open file and txt, sorry, file is equal to open file file.txt. Uh, so next, file.txt are content one is equal to file one dot read content is equal to file two dot read file one dot close, then file two dot close, then merged is equal to open, then merged dot txt w merged dot write, then content one, then merged dot write slash n, then merged dot write content two, then merged dot close. And if I run this out, then it will show. One second. Yes, merge.txt Python programming. Okay. So next we are going to do what? We are going to do search a word. Okay. So file is equal to open file one.txt, then data is equal to file dot read then file dot close word is equal to input enter word then if word is in data, then print word found, then else print word not found. Okay, so if we run this program, so it will show enter word English, then word not found. Okay, so next we are going to count total words. Okay, so file is equal to open demo.txt, our data is equal to file dot read, then file dot close, word is equal to data dot one second data dot split, then print, then words. Okay, so run this program. One second. So it is 2. Okay, so next I will talk about count total lines. Okay, so file is equal to open demo.txt, our lines is equal to file dot read lines, then file dot close, words is equal to file dot close, print line lines, print line lines. So it will show 1. Okay, then if we count characters, file is equal to open will remain same, then that data is equal to file dot read, okay, file dot close, then len data. We run this program, then it will show 20. Okay, then we are going to do one mini project, that is student record system. Okay, so name is equal to input, enter name, name. Okay, so next is marks, input, enter marks. Next, file is equal to open student.txt, a file dot write name plus min- minus, then plus, then marks, plus, then slash, then then print record saved successfully. Okay, so if we are in this program, so it will show enter name Ayush marks 80, then record saved successfully. Okay, so every time you run this program, a new student record is added without deleting previous records. Okay, so next we are going to do some Viva questions. Okay, that is, which module is used for file related operating system tasks? That answer is OS. And which function name a file? Answer is os.name. Which function delete a file? os.remove. Which function check whether a file exists? os.path.exist. Which mode is safest for adding new record continuously? A. Okay, so that is for today's lecture. We'll learn about file handling. Okay, read, update, and opening files, file mode, file object, relative path, absolute path, editing data from files, writing into files, write multiple lines with statement, advanced file handlings, practice questions, and file handling practicals. Okay, so these are the things that we did today, and in next lecture, that is the last lecture of this course, that is OOPS. Okay, so have a nice day. Thank you very much.